like clock. I can't stop. Fuck around, make my 40 pop. No popcorn, I pop pistols, reaming my body.
Looked like the Boruto anime actually took the criticism that a lot of people had to heart, and they started shooting back with absolute fire. Now it turns out that Delta is actually going to be introduced, not necessarily introduced. Delta and Naruto are actually going to be fighting in the next couple of weeks. Originally, when we entered this year, I gave my predictions about this year. I talked about how I expected Naruto and Delta to be fighting at the end of this year. I didn't necessarily think it was going to be this early. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining at all, man, because I definitely do want to see Naruto and Delta fight, but now we have it confirmed. Naruto and Delta are actually going to be fighting in episode 198 and episode 199. Needless to say, that fight is probably going to be animated to damn near perfection. I'm not necessarily going to try to hold it to the standard of episode 189 because that episode right there was absolutely insane. There's possibly no way at all another episode could actually replicate that. It's similar to episode 65, but nonetheless, this episode is definitely going to be animated very well. Now, I've been hearing that the person that's going to animate this episode right here, episode 199 specifically, which is going to be the time where Naruto and Delta really get into it, that right there is going to be animated by the same people that animated the Owl versus Team 7 fight, which again, that fight right there was animated very, very well. Not necessarily like episode 189. In my opinion, I think that style of animation is going to be saved for a little bit more bigger fights down the line, but nonetheless, this fight right here should definitely be a very, very good one. I'm going to tell you guys for right now, for the people who didn't necessarily get to see it in the Boruto manga, the Boruto manga fight of Delta versus Naruto was absolutely insane. We all loved it when it first came out. If we're talking about strictly manga fights, this fight right here was miles ahead of Kawaki versus Garo, and because of that, the Boruto writers now have so much more room, so much more leniency to basically play with this scene and add a whole bunch of things just like they did with Kawaki and Garo. Now I want to say this again, 100% I do not expect this fight to be as pretty as Kawaki versus Garo, but in regards to the overall battle, I 100% expect this battle to be better than Kawaki versus Garo. Now one thing that I am 100% happy for is that Delta's probably going to get the shine that she didn't necessarily get into the Boruto manga. I don't necessarily like to classify myself as a power scale, but I kind of looked at it in a power scaling type of view. Naruto and Delta matched on many fronts. Obviously Naruto was holding back a little bit, mainly because he couldn't necessarily destroy his own backyard, but regardless, Naruto and Delta matched on many fronts, and I believe that the Boruto anime is definitely going to show that to the Boruto fan base out there, so we can kind of put a little bit more respect on Delta's name. But the downside to this is going to have to be the character development, and not only that, the anime potentially catching up to the Boruto manga. In regards to the anime catching up to the Boruto manga, I don't necessarily think it's going to be that big of a deal. At this particular point, we understand that the Boruto manga is going to be very, very close to the time skip in the future. Now, once they actually do go to the time skip, I believe that right there in itself could potentially serve for like 100 anime only episodes where we get to see a bunch of development of Boruto, Sasuke, and of course everybody else training during the time skip. Now in my opinion, is that 100% certain? Of course it's not 100% certain, because of course when it comes to Naruto and Naruto Shippuden, we didn't get a lot of episodes in the time skip. Of course we got some flashbacks in Shippuden, and then we got a couple throwaway arcs, but I believe if the Boruto anime is feeling this brave as to getting this close to the Boruto manga, they definitely have some sort of idea of how they can actually separate the Boruto manga and the Boruto anime in the future, and I believe that the time skip is definitely going to be something very vital to that. Now not only that, of course the other concern is going to be the character development of everybody else. One of the biggest things that we did notice in the Boruto manga is that Kawaki and Boruto's relationship, even though we kind of understood why it got as close as it did, it kind of seemed a little bit too quick. Now don't get me wrong, because the Boruto manga is like monthly, of course it's been like years since Boruto and Kawaki actually met, and right now they're extremely close. They're like brothers, but it's been like 1 or 2 arcs in between the time where they were just completely fighting, and now they're like brothers. And I believe in the Boruto anime they should have actually stretched it out a little bit more and actually showed why their bond is so tight into the Boruto manga. Now they do actually still have the chance to show why Boruto and Kawaki's bond is so tight in the future, because we're just talking about up until the Delta arc. But if the anime pacing right now is telling us anything in regards to how the anime is going to be adapting the Boruto manga moving forward, it seems like it's going to be at a very, very rapid pace. There's still a very good possibility that even with this rapid pace, the Boruto writers make that connection and make that bond a little bit more pronounced, especially in the Boruto anime where we get to see a lot more, where we get to hear the background music, we get to feel a lot more of the emotions that Boruto and Kawaki are feeling. So because of that, I'm not necessarily panicking too much, but regardless, it's still a very good topic to bring up and a very good concern to bring up in regards to the Boruto anime moving so damn fast. Now I think the obvious upside to the anime moving so fast has to be the entertainment factor. The entertainment factor over these past couple of months has been absolutely insane, absolutely off the charts. We got the Owl fight, we just got Kawaki introduced, and now we're getting Delta, and if this pace actually does keep up, there is a lot more amazing fights and a lot more amazing arcs that we do have to look forward to. I believe if that's the situation, it'll possibly improve the overall image of the Boruto manga generally and possibly make it a lot more mainstream, even though of course it's Boruto, it's a lot mainstream right now, but regardless, you guys get my point. It's going to be received a lot better with the mainstream audience. I think that right there is definitely a very good thing. Now, of course, as I said, there's some downsides, there's some upsides, but I think this right here could potentially outweigh the downside, and that's why right now, in lieu of this news, I'm super excited, man. I'm super excited. I definitely do want to see Delta square off against Naruto and see exactly how they animate it in the Boruto anime. Now, of course, when we talk about Naruto and Delta's fight being confirmed, there is a bunch of other things that basically leads up to that battle, and I will talk about that in a later video because we did get a bunch of spoilers, literally I think episode 195 through 198. So of course I'm going to talk about that in possibly a later video, possibly even tomorrow. But I want to tell you guys right now, you should 100% be hyped for this fight right here. In my opinion, I think it's the best fight since Momoshiki versus Naruto and Sasuke. And for the hardcore Naruto fans out there, this fight right here might even be better than the Momoshiki versus Naruto and Sasuke fight because it's going to be so Naruto centric. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below, and give me your opinions about the pacing of the Boruto anime right now. Do you guys like it? Do you guys dislike it? Me personally, I just believe that the fights are just so fire. It 100% outweighs the negative. I would definitely prefer the pacing of this just because it's just so good. But let me know what you guys think. It's been your boy Baara, and we out.
It's a knife.